Everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here today. So today, we're unpacking some truly powerful insights from author Ivana Sung, and we're looking at a topic that affects, well, quite literally every single one of us, mental clarity. We live in this era where information is just coming at us faster than ever before. But instead of feeling empowered by all this data, a lot of us just feel overwhelmed, just kind of lost in the static. So today, we're going right to the heart of the matter. We're going to map out this journey from the modern noise that constantly surrounds us, all the way to finding a clear, focused direction. We'll explore exactly why our brains feel so exhausted, and more importantly, how we can actually build an internal compass to guide us. Let's dive right in.
Okay, let's be completely honest for a second here. Have you ever lost 10 minutes, or maybe more, checking just one message? Think about it. How many times has this exact scenario happened to you this week? Maybe even today. You grab your phone to send a super quick text, and suddenly you're sucked into this time warp, deep reading an article about something you literally didn't even care about 2 minutes ago. We all know that exact feeling, right? The day starts with a few really solid plans, but before long, our attention gets totally hijacked by notifications, other people's opinions, and a to-do list that just magically keeps growing. We live in a time when information has never been more accessible. But paradoxically, as Ivana Song points out, this massive abundance of information is actually stealing our space to think. It's not a lack of knowledge that challenges us today, it's the total lack of mental space.
So, Section 1, the overstimulated brain, the biology of distraction.
Spoiler alert, you can officially stop feeling so guilty about your modern attention span. Look at the stark contrast we're dealing with here. On one side, we have slow information. The human brain evolved in environments where information arrived, well, slowly. The stimuli our ancestors dealt with were strictly connected to their immediate survival, their local community, and their physical surroundings. Now, contrast that with today's constant stimulation. Before you even roll out of bed in the morning, you've probably read several messages, checked social media, processed global news, and made dozens of micro-decisions. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Our nervous systems were simply never designed to process this daily volume of global information. No previous generation has ever had to manage this level of constant, relentless input.
And man, all of that input comes with a really heavy tax. Every single one of these drains, every little ping, every unfinished task lingering in the back of your mind, every unresolved decision, and every emotional trigger, it actually consumes a portion of your mental energy. It's cumulative. When enough of these pile up, the brain gets totally overwhelmed and is essentially forced to simplify reality just to cope. We stop being reflective, and we start becoming purely reactive. When your brain is running on fumes like this, urgency starts to look way more important than actual significance, and we inevitably start prioritizing short-term relief over our real long-term goals.
Moving on to Section 2, the anatomy of decisions and how this shapes our lives. Let's raise the stakes a little bit here and look at how this constant distraction alters our long-term trajectory. It's a complete cascading effect. From a systems thinking perspective, nothing in our lives exists in isolation. Walk through this chain reaction with me. It starts with step 1, our thoughts. Our thoughts immediately influence step 2, our emotions. Those emotions then directly affect step 3, our physiology, meaning how our body actually physically feels. That physiological state then shapes step 4, our perception of the whole world around us. And finally, that perception dictates step 5, our decisions. And it's those decisions that ultimately create the results we call our life circumstances. So the crazy part is that a single moment of emotional reactivity, maybe sparked by a totally random notification, can set off a domino effect that alters the trajectory of your life for months or even years.
But this brilliantly illustrates the flip side of that coin too. Just as reactivity can derail us, a single moment of conscious awareness can change the direction of an entire system. Mental clarity is what gives us the superpower to pause that chain reaction we just looked at. It allows us to step back, to actually see the bigger picture in complex situations, and make choices that align with our long-term values, rather than just instinctively chasing that quick hit of short-term relief.
All right, Section 3, the multitasking myth. Let's look at fragmented attention.
If our biology is working against us, modern culture is definitely not doing us any favors either. We really need to dismantle this glorification of constant busyness. The human brain actually cannot process multiple complex things simultaneously. It's just not a thing. What we call multitasking is really just rapid task switching, and every single time your brain switches focus, it pays a massive toll. It consumes energy, it drastically reduces your concentration, and it skyrockets your mental fatigue. This completely debunks the myth of the highly effective multitasker, and it perfectly explains why you can end a completely exhausting day and still struggle to point to a single thing you actually finished.
You see, the real challenge in our modern lives is rarely a lack of activity. We are basically always doing something. The real enemy here is fragmented attention. Mental clarity doesn't develop by doing more. It develops by removing the elements that continuously drain your focus. Actually, sometimes the absolute most productive decision you can make in a given day is the one that creates more space rather than just endlessly cramming more tasks onto your plate.
Which brings us to Section 4, regulating your internal state, focusing on emotional regulation.
So how do we actually fix this? Well, we need to shift our focus away from external productivity hacks, the shiny new apps or planners, and instead look inward. A lot of us try to solve mental overwhelm by simply trying to think harder. But the brain and the body function as one single, totally integrated system. You simply cannot outthink a stressed-out nervous system. When you're under prolonged stress, your actual lived experience of the world completely changes. A challenge that felt totally manageable yesterday might seem absolutely insurmountable today. And the wild thing is, the situation itself hasn't changed at all. What has changed is the physiological state you're viewing it from. Regulating your nervous system is the key to clearing that mental fog.
I absolutely love this reframe from Ivana's song. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" or "Why can't I just figure this out?" Instead, just hit pause and ask yourself this profound question. From what state am I operating right now? Are you operating from a state of pure exhaustion, from fear? Maybe you're just wildly overcaffeinated. Asking this instantly spikes your self-awareness and immediately dials down the self-judgment, creating that much-needed space for intentional, clear choices.
Okay, Section 5, the inner shift, changing our identity. To truly find lasting clarity, we have to address a massive psychological barrier, how we actually tie our own identities to modern chaos. Think about this chaos identity. Does this sound like anyone you know? Maybe. You? A lot of us have spent years unconsciously building an identity around constant busyness, this permanent sense of urgency, and just perpetual overthinking. The noise has become so incredibly familiar to us that actual silence feels deeply uncomfortable. Continuous activity gives us this false sense of security. Because let's face it, when we slow down, we're finally forced to face the thoughts, the emotions, and the big life questions that we've been putting off by just keeping ourselves busy.
To break free from this cycle, you have to fundamentally change your relationship with yourself, and it starts with this absolute truth. Your inherent value as a human being is not determined by the speed with which you respond to a Slack message or the sheer volume of tasks you manage to cross off a list in a day. When you truly internalize this, like not just understand it intellectually, but live it as an experience, you finally give your nervous system permission to slow down. And it is only in that slowed down, quiet space that genuine creativity, deep strategic thinking, and high-quality decision-making can actually flourish.
Finally, Section 6, the ultimate modern advantage, mental clarity.
Let's bring this all together. We really need to reframe mental clarity. It's not just some trendy wellness concept to try out. It's the ultimate survival skill. We are rapidly entering an era driven by artificial intelligence, which means the volume of available information is going to increase exponentially. There will be infinitely more content, way more opinions, and even more stimuli competing for your already limited attention. In this future, the greatest advantage will absolutely not belong to the person who can accumulate the most information. Machines will always beat us at that game. The highest form of modern intelligence will be the ability to remain calm amid intense complexity and to find meaning and direction within a massive sea of endless data.
And this perfectly summarizes our entire journey today. In a world completely saturated with noise, clarity equals direction. Mental clarity acts as your internal compass. Now, it's super important to remember that having clarity doesn't magically make the storms of life disappear. It doesn't shorten the journey, and it certainly won't make the hard decisions for you. But what it does do is help you understand exactly where you are, where you genuinely want to go, and precisely which next step actually deserves your precious attention. Because wherever clarity exists, direction inevitably follows.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Take a deep breath. If you were to just pause all the noise, the notifications, the endless tasks, right in this very moment, where is your internal compass actually pointing you? Let that question linger. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. Keep seeking that space to think, and I'll see you next time.